Somewhere off the Pacific coast of Colombia, in a jungle estuary hidden under triple canopy forest, men are building a submarine. They are not engineers, they are not military, they are cartel workers, paid approximately $5,000 each to construct a vessel that will carry between 1 and 6 tons of cocaine across 1,000 miles of open ocean to Central America. The submarine will cost approximately $1.5 million to build. It will be made of fiberglass over a wooden frame. It will be powered by a diesel engine. It will ride so low in the water that only a few inches of its hull will be visible above the surface. It will have no periscope, no sonar, no torpedo tubes. Its only weapons are stealth and expendability. The cocaine it carries will be worth between $30 and $120 million at its destination. When the delivery is complete, the submarine will be scuttled, sunk deliberately to destroy the evidence. The crew will transfer to a fishing boat and disappear. The submarine will join hundreds of others on the ocean floor, a growing graveyard of disposable vessels that represent one of the most sophisticated smuggling operations in history. The United States Coast Guard estimates that it intercepts only 11% of these submarines. The other 89% get through. This is the story of how drug cartels built their own submarine fleet, why the most powerful navy in the world cannot stop them, and how these vessels are evolving from crude jungle boats into autonomous drones that may never need a crew at all. This is Naval Depth. The story of narco submarines begins in the late 1980s, when the Colombian drug cartels faced a problem. The traditional methods of moving cocaine to the United States by air and by commercial shipping were becoming increasingly dangerous. The United States had invested billions of dollars in radar systems, patrol aircraft, and Coast Guard vessels designed to intercept drug shipments. The Colombian military, under pressure and funding from Washington, was conducting aggressive operations against cartel logistics networks. The cartels needed a new way to move product, and they found it underwater. The first known narco submarine was discovered in 1988 near Boca Raton, Florida. It was a crude, unmanned vessel only 21 feet long, designed to be towed behind a boat and remotely controlled. Its hatch could only be opened from the outside, suggesting it was intended as a cargo pod rather than a crewed vessel. It was empty when authorities found it, but the implications were clear. Someone was experimenting with underwater drug delivery. The Medellin cartel under Pablo Escobar is believed to have been the first organization to seriously invest in submarine technology. The cartel understood vertical integration. They controlled every step of the cocaine supply chain, from coca cultivation to processing to distribution. Submarines offered something no other delivery method could provide: near invisibility. After the fall of the Medellin cartel in the early 1990s and the subsequent dismantling of the Cali cartel, the technology did not disappear. It dispersed. Smaller cartels, successor organizations, and eventually the Mexican cartels inherited and improved the submarine designs. The first confirmed narco submarine seizure occurred in 1993 near Colombia's San Andres Islands. It was a semi-submersible, meaning it could not fully submerge but rode extremely low in the water, presenting almost no radar profile. From that point, the evolution was rapid. To understand how narco submarines work, you must understand the engineering challenge they solve. The goal is to move 1 to 6 tons of cocaine from the Pacific coast of Colombia to a delivery point in Central America, Mexico, or increasingly directly to the coasts of Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. The distance ranges from 1,000 to over 4,000 miles depending on the route. The vessel must avoid detection by the United States Coast Guard, the United States Navy, Colombian Navy patrol aircraft, radar systems, and satellite surveillance. The solution is a vessel called a low-profile vessel, or semi-submersible. These are not true submarines. They cannot dive. They ride at the surface with only a few inches of hull and a small exhaust pipe visible above the waterline. This minimal profile makes them nearly invisible to radar. They present no significant thermal signature because the diesel exhaust is mixed with seawater to cool it. They are painted in sea colors to avoid visual detection. A typical modern narco semi-submersible is between 40 and 100 feet long. The largest ever recorded was 100 feet long and 10 feet wide. Intercepted in the Pacific in 2023 carrying 3 tons of cocaine worth over $100 million. The hull is constructed from fiberglass layered over a wooden frame. The construction takes place in clandestine shipyards hidden in the dense jungle estuaries along Colombia's Pacific coast, where the thick canopy prevents satellite observation and the remote location makes ground access nearly impossible. The vessel is powered by one or two diesel engines, typically commercial marine engines that can be purchased legally. Fuel tanks carry enough diesel for a one-way trip of approximately 1,000 nautical miles. The crew consists of 3 to 4 men who operate in shifts inside a cramped, dark, hot space with no ventilation, no bathroom, and minimal food and water. The journey takes between 5 and 8 days, depending on conditions. Navigation is handled by commercial GPS units. Communication is maintained through satellite phones and increasingly through Starlink satellite internet terminals. The cartel logistics network includes support vessels, typically fishing boats positioned along the route that provide warnings about patrol activity, fresh water, food, and sometimes fuel. These support vessels extend the operational range of the submarine significantly, allowing some to travel distances that would otherwise be impossible on a single fuel load. When the submarine reaches its delivery point, usually a remote stretch of coastline in Guatemala, Honduras, or Mexico, the cargo is transferred to fast boats for the final leg to shore. The submarine itself is then scuttled, sunk deliberately to destroy evidence. The crew is picked up by a support vessel and returned to Colombia. If the submarine is intercepted at sea, the crew follows a standard protocol. They open the sea valves and scuttle the vessel immediately. The cocaine sinks. The crew takes to the water and waits to be rescued. Until 2008, under international maritime law, the crew would be picked up and released if there was no evidence of wrongdoing, since the evidence was on the ocean floor. In 2008, the United States passed the Drug Trafficking Vessel Interdiction Act, making it a federal felony to operate a stateless semi-submersible vessel, regardless of whether drugs are found aboard. The scale of narco-submarine operations is staggering. In 2009, the United States detected as many as 60 submarine-related events in the Eastern Pacific alone. The Colombian Navy had intercepted or discovered 33 submarines by that year. By 2023, Colombia was intercepting approximately 20 semi-submersibles per year, resulting in seizures of 30 tons of cocaine and 5 tons of marijuana. But these seizures represent only a fraction of the total traffic. The United States Coast Guard estimates that roughly 1/3 of all cocaine smuggled by sea into the United States travels aboard semi-submersible vessels. Of the total maritime cocaine flow, authorities intercept only a small percentage. The Coast Guard's own estimate of an 11% interception rate for submarines means that for every submarine caught, approximately 8 get through. The economics explain why the cartels continue to invest in submarines despite the losses. A single semi-submersible costs approximately $1 to $2 million to build. It carries cocaine worth $30 to $120 million. Even if the cartels lose half their submarines to interception, the profit margin is enormous. Each successful delivery generates returns of 20 to 50 times the investment. No legitimate business in the world can match those margins. The human cost is significant, but, from the cartel's perspective, expendable. Crew members are typically recruited from poor communities along the Colombian and Ecuadorian coasts. They are paid between $5,000 and $10,000 per trip, an enormous sum in regions where the average monthly income is a few $100s. The work is dangerous. Crew members spend up to 8 days in a claustrophobic, sweltering tube with no sanitation, breathing diesel fumes, unable to stand up straight. Some do not survive the journey. In 2023, a narco submarine was seized in the Pacific with 2 dead crew members aboard, alongside nearly 3 tons of cocaine. Drug mules assigned to submarine duty by the Sinaloa cartel reportedly dread the assignment, but refusing is not an option. The construction of narco submarines is an industry in itself. The Colombian Navy estimates that the Pacific coastline jungles contain dozens of active clandestine shipyards at any given time. Building a submarine requires transporting tons of materials, fiberglass, wood, engines, fuel tanks, electronics, and supplies deep into roadless jungle, usually by river. The logistics are comparable to a small military operation. The builders are not formally trained naval engineers. They are skilled craftsmen, fishermen, and boat builders who have developed expertise through decades of trial and error. The designs have been refined over generations. What started as crude wooden boats in the early 1990s has evolved into sophisticated fiberglass vessels with integrated navigation systems, ballast controls, and exhaust cooling systems. But the most alarming development is the newest one. Narco submarines are going autonomous. In April 2024, the Colombian military intercepted a 40-foot narco submarine off Tayrona National Park. When naval forces boarded the vessel, they discovered something unprecedented. There was no crew aboard. The submarine was operating autonomously. The vessel was equipped with a commercial autopilot processor, a unit designed for mid-size recreational boats that costs approximately $2,200 on Amazon. It was connected to hydraulic steering, heading sensors, and rudder feedback systems. The entire autonomous navigation package was assembled from commercially available components that any competent electronics technician could install. The submarine had a cargo capacity of approximately 1.5 tons of cocaine. It had enough fuel for an 800 nautical mile journey, and it eliminated the most vulnerable element of the smuggling operation, the crew. Without crew members who could be captured and interrogated, the cartels removed the primary means by which law enforcement traces drug shipments back to their organizers. In July 2025, a drone narco submarine was seized for the first time in the Caribbean. This vessel, operated by the Gulf Clan, Colombia's largest drug trafficking organization, was equipped with a Starlink satellite antenna for remote communication and navigation. It was empty at the time of seizure. Authorities believed it was on a test run. The implications are profound. An autonomous narco submarine eliminates crew risk, crew cost, and the possibility of human intelligence from captured operators. It can be controlled remotely from anywhere in the world via satellite link. It can be programmed to travel a specific route and deliver its cargo to predetermined coordinates. If intercepted, there are no human witnesses to interrogate. The vessel sinks and the evidence disappears. The technology is not sophisticated by military standards. It uses off-the-shelf commercial components, but it represents a paradigm shift in drug smuggling that law enforcement agencies are not prepared for. As one Colombian naval official stated, the cartels are migrating toward more sophisticated unmanned systems that are difficult to detect at sea, hard to track by radar, and allow criminal networks to operate with partial autonomy. The response of the United States and its allies has been significant but insufficient. The Coast Guard deploys cutters, patrol aircraft, and surveillance systems across the Eastern Pacific, the primary corridor for narco-submarine traffic. The United States Navy provides intelligence support and occasionally deploys warships. The Colombian Navy conducts operations along its Pacific coast. International cooperations involving dozens of countries coordinate detection and interdiction efforts. But the ocean is simply too big. The Eastern Pacific cocaine corridor stretches across millions of square miles of open water. A semi-submersible presents a radar cross-section smaller than a surfboard. It generates almost no thermal signature. It is painted to blend with the water. Even with satellite surveillance, finding a 40-foot vessel in 1 million square miles of ocean is comparable to finding a specific grain of sand on a beach. The narco-submarine phenomenon has also gone global. Vessels that once operated exclusively in the Eastern Pacific are now crossing the Atlantic. In recent years, narco-submarines have been intercepted off the coasts of Spain, Portugal, and the Azores. Some have been found as far away as the Solomon Islands, Tonga, and Fiji. In 2024, a Colombian semi-submersible carrying 5 tons of cocaine was captured 1,200 miles southwest of Clipperton Island, over 3,000 miles from the Colombian coast, on a route heading toward Australia and New Zealand. The Oceanian island nations where some of these vessels have washed up have virtually no Coast Guard capability, no counter-narcotics infrastructure, and laws that are unprepared for this type of threat. Drug cartels have identified these countries as new transit points precisely because they lack the ability to respond. The evolution of narco-submarines from crude wooden boats to autonomous drones mirrors the broader pattern of asymmetric warfare. When a weaker force faces a stronger one, it innovates. The cartels cannot match the United States Navy in firepower or technology, but they do not need to. They only need to get 11% of their submarines past the interdiction net. And they only need each submarine to succeed once. The submarines themselves are disposable. They are built to make a single trip and then be destroyed. There is no maintenance, no return voyage, no port infrastructure. Each submarine is a one-way weapon, fired from the jungles of Colombia and aimed at the coastlines of the consuming world. This approach inverts the traditional economics of naval warfare. A United States Coast Guard cutter costs hundreds of millions of dollars to build and millions per day to operate. A Narco submarine costs $1.5 million. To catch one submarine, the Coast Guard must deploy assets that cost orders of magnitude more than the target. And for every submarine they catch, 8 more get through. The ocean has always been a space where the rules are different, where borders are invisible, where enforcement is limited by geography and physics. The Narco submarine fleet exploits every one of these limitations. It is a navy without a nation, a fleet without a flag, and a force that grows more sophisticated with every vessel seized, because every seizure teaches the builders what to improve next time. Somewhere tonight, in a jungle estuary on the Pacific coast of Colombia, men are building another submarine. They will finish it in approximately 6 weeks. They will load it with cocaine worth more than the annual budget of many small countries. They will send it north or west or across the Atlantic into waters patrolled by the most powerful navies in the world, and the odds are that it will get through. This is Naval Depth. Subscribe and stay with us as this story continues.